So, um, again, to address the funding gap, the district has a number of things that it is um, itself taking on and planning. So some of those things include cost studies. We're looking at we're doing a resource inventory review. So we know that we've made several purchases. We have a wide array of resources that we've purchased throughout the years. There was the year that we were in school remotely. And so there are some online things that were purchased recently that we are just really evaluating, looking at everything that we have, what the usage is on those things, how effective they are, and evaluating whether or not those are things that we as a district want to continue to pay for. We are maximizing our grant funds. Our high school just applied for CTE, additional CTE funds. We have title. We have about $5.7 million left on ESSER, which expires this year. And so we're really being intentional about what we're purchasing and how we can move expenses onto the grant. And then we're evaluating our staffing model. So that's one of the areas that we're looking at as we compare ourselves to other districts and how districts are spending. That's another area that we're looking into and making sure that there's no duplication in services, that we're providing the best service, and we're doing it in a way that is conducive to learning and best supports our students. And then there's anticipated needs and community concerns that we know we need to address here in the near term. So we know that we need new textbooks and a curriculum adoption. The state recently passed the science of reading as a requirement for all curriculum to align. And we know that our current ELA curriculum does not. And so we are in need of having to update that. Along with that, we also need to update our social studies, science, math curriculums. And so we're looking at doing that at every grade level. Also, research shows that you need both. For the most effective and efficient learning, you need both online resources and like physical textbook. And I know with COVID, we've kind of gotten away from having a physical textbook. And so we are looking to looking at ways that we may provide textbooks for our students. We desperately need to address our deteriorating facilities. That includes athletic facilities and playgrounds. So I've heard from in our collection of some of the questions that you all may have. I've heard a lot about playground and the conditions of the playgrounds and some of our athletic facilities that we have maybe neglected in order to use funds in other places. I see Debbie's amen comment. And so this is an area that we know we need to address. We had a situation where we ended up closing a building because we kind of kicked the can down the road for too long and didn't allocate resources to address some of the needs that were happening in that building. And by the time we are able to address it, it is way more expensive. And so we have worked to create a master's facilities plan where we are putting things on a schedule so that we can avoid another HAMS situation. As I showed you on the previous slides, we know that we need to increase staff salaries to allow the district to effectively recruit and retain our staff. In a lot of focus groups that I've been able to be a part of, when you talk to employees or former employees as they're exiting, a lot of them will talk about salary as being one of those things that they can improve by going to another district. And we know that we have lost some valuable staff members for this very reason. So this is an area that we know that we are needing to address. And then there are some things that we have purchased with our ESSER dollars. So some of that includes like guest teachers. These are teachers that are in our buildings that can be that first line of defense if there's a teacher who is sick. I know the first thing that a lot of people think is that, oh, our teachers aren't coming, and we have one of the highest rates and of attendance for teachers. So that's not at all why we need guest teachers or why our sub costs are increasing. Instead, it is our inability to recruit teachers. And so we, about a week ago, the last I knew, we had about 50 vacant positions. And so there, we need to have students, teachers in front of our students. And so one of the things that we've used to combat this is guest teachers. And these are people who are working on licensures. And so many times you'll see our guest teachers become full-time teachers with us, but they're working on their license while they're in school, and they are gaining that experience with us and serving a need for the district as well. And so this is one of those areas that as we lose ESSER dollars at the end of this year, we are looking to retain. It is a huge help for both teachers and administrators in our buildings, as it provides like a level of continuity for students. They get to know them, they see them every day, versus a substitute who may be here 1 or 2 days. And then and a lot of people have written us and talked about mental health services for students, and being able to provide more given some of the events that have transpired in buildings. And so an increase, of mental health support services obviously comes with a cost. And so that's one of the things that we know we need to address. And we're looking to do that through partnerships and or being able to provide services in-house. And then a lot of people, this is a hot button topic as well, finding and or building a preschool space. So a few years back, like my first year joining the district, there was a levy on the ballot that would have, had it passed, create a space for our preschool students outside of the high school, as well as kindergarten, early learning facility. And unfortunately, that did not pass. However, we still need that space, right? And so many parents of our preschoolers have, written us about, and I'm sure, you all could think of benefits to having our preschoolers in their own space. And so we're looking at different ways that we may be able to address that need. And then finally, the elimination of pay to participate fees, which, you all would be surprised at how many times I get asked personally this question of why does this even have to exist? Um, you'll notice that as I was going through my spiel on, kind of what we're spending dollars on, the general fund does not spend a lot of its money on pay to participate. In fact, the only places where we contribute to athletics is in the salaries for coaches, the board's portion of the pay to participate, and any needs that are brought forth as part of that department budgeting. So we do some reconditioning of football equipment, but this is something that primarily exists in a different space and on a different fund. And the history, my understanding of the history there is that, back when the district needed to make some cuts, they had much higher pay to participate fees, but this is one of the areas that was on the chopping block if it could not sustain itself. And I think our district has relied heavily on booster organizations and that sort of thing to support our athletic programs. And, I think we have a board and a superintendent who is committed to acknowledging athletics and the arts and all of those extracurriculars as just as important as our academics. And so this is another area that we are looking to revise, and we're, really looking at ways that we can kind of streamline this as well. But again, those things come at a cost.